Hey everyone, my name is Caleb Drawdy. I'm a solutions architect with Aero Electronics focused on the Dell EMC product line. I cover the central region, and today we're going to talk about LiveOptics. So what is LiveOptics? It is the best of both worlds from Dell EMC tools, and it's for building and validating a workload and capturing that information to present it back to your customer. So the main component of LiveOptics is called Optical Prime, and it's a host profiling tool. It was legacy DPAC, so we've kind of rebranded it and added a bunch of new feature functionality. So there's multiple features within LiveOptics, and as you can see across the bottom of the screen, it includes server, virtualization, storage, DP, workload, trending, etc. So as I mentioned, the first component of LiveOptics is Optical Prime, and this is the host profiler. So it gives you performance characteristics, software, OS, vendor information for the servers, virtual machine characteristics. So this encompasses the server, virtualization, even some of the storage components. The next component of LiveOptics is called Dossier, and that is an application and file optics. And then there's data protection, which is like a backup assessment. And then finally is the storage assessment, and you can gather like hardware type of profiles of the backend storage. So the main component, as I mentioned, is Optical Prime. It's primarily what you're going to be using, and it's kind of the first angle of attack when it comes to getting an assessment done in your customer's environment. So it runs on the operating system. It talks to the operating system's servers, whether they're physical or virtual. They can be on-prem or off-prem, pretty much wherever there is IP connectivity. So a little bit about how this works from a LiveOptics perspective in terms of like sending invites to your customer. So the first thing you have to do is to set up your account and set up your partner team. And so here you can add your engineers, even some of your sales team, and create a team where then you send invites to your customer to run these assessments. So pretty much you invite the customer downloads a collector, and it's just an executable. There's no install. It runs completely in memory, and it connects to specified systems and presents that information in a web portal. And you can view that info in the portal in several different ways, and you can also export it as well. So again, back to like the more administrative side of LiveOptics, you can create a team and create branding so that when the customer downloads the collector, your logo is on there. Again, branding on the reports, and you can not only just send this to partners, you can also test this in your own environments, and we're going to do a demo of that. So you can, like, there's no limit in terms of like what number of assessments or profiles you can run. So as you can see, it's unlimited. And in terms from like a privacy perspective, it is only shared between the partner and the customer. You can share it with peers within the company, but it doesn't leave the company profile. So a little bit about how the data collection process works. So first, we're going to request a capture, and this is initiated in the portal. And you can search for the customer info and send it out to them. And then once you send it to them, or before you send it to them, you're going to select like what kind of collection do you want to do? Do you want to do an optical prime? Do you want to do a storage assessment? Do you want to do application and file optics type assessment? So you can select what type of assessment and like the granularity So if you just want like a high-level assessment, you're just going to go with Optical Prime, whereas if you want more of a targeted assessment on like data protection, you're going to do a backup assessment. So you're going to select that. It's going to send an email to your customer with download instructions, and then they're going to install the collector. So again, it's lightweight. There's no install. It runs completely in memory. And this collector is linked to their account. So it's not just a generic connector. Each connector that they download is from, like I said, it has your logo on it. It is linked to their account. And you'll see that here in a little bit when we do the demo. Now, when it comes to the collector itself and the uploader, there's two modes for how the software works. You can do the collector mode or the uploader, and we'll get into that a little bit deeper. But just as a high level, the collector talks directly with the systems using APIs, whereas with the uploader, it's a little bit more manual, and you have to go and find some specific files and point the collector to that, and it will upload it to the LiveOptics portal. Once it is uploaded, a project is created. It sends an email to you as well as your customer, where you can see the reports in the portal, as well as download a bunch of download and export, whether it's PowerPoint or a spreadsheet. So with the uploader mode, you can see here in the picture with the Vmax, you can run the collection with Solutions Enabler 8.x or 7.x. It shows you how, it walks you through. So it's a very simple process. It's just a different way to do it. Whereas the collector mode, when the system has an API, we're just going to type in the IP address, and it's going to pull all that information we need. Again, Optical Prime is the main way that we're going to assess the customer's environment. It's just a high-level assessment that we're going to use most of the time as our first assessment. And if we need to get more granular, we can run some of those more granular assessments. But Optical Prime is typically your starting place. So now we're going to jump over into the live assessment. The demo assessment. So I'm going to show you how to log into the how to log in to LiveOptics, as well as how to run an assessment and the process that it entails. So here you can see I've gone to liveoptics.com, and I'm just going to log in. If you need to sign up, you can do so here. So when you log on, you're going to see this screen. Okay, so when I am sending an invite to the customer, I'm going to type in their email address here. I'm going to go through here, fill out their account name, all their information, and then I'm going to select the different collection types. So as I mentioned, there's multiple different types. For server virtualization, your typical one is going to be Optical Prime. If I need file assessments, I can do Dossier. Again, there's storage integration with the majority of the Dell EMC product line, and then looking down into data protection, you can see integration with Avamar as well as Veeam and IBM for data protection assessments. So for today, we're just going to do an Optical Prime, and I can check that. If I wanted to also do storage, you can bundle them together and check both of them. So again, for today, we're just focusing on Optical Prime. And then I would send the request. Now, I can't do this because I'm from the same email domain. So what I'm going to do is go to the dashboard, and you can do this exact same thing for running assessments in your own environment. So I'm going to go to Download Collectors, and there's two different collector types. There's Windows collectors as well as Linux collectors. So Windows connects to all different platforms, whether it's Windows, Linux, Unix, VMware, storage. Whereas Linux, within Optical Prime, both collectors perform the same, whether it's Windows or Linux. So you don't need to run the collector on multiple servers at the same time. One instance will collect from all different data points. So when you download it, it embeds customer and VAR specific information into the collector. So if you scroll down, you can see the support matrix for the different operating systems, whether it's local or remote collection. So you can look that towards the bottom if you're interested. Again, so we are just going to download the Windows client, and it's going to download about a 5 meg file. So there we go. And I am going to open the zip and extract it. And here you're going to see it's going to download the application. It also includes a security brief, and it talks about, how LiveOptics works, including protocols, how the data is transmitted, and this is also available on the support site. So in terms of the installation, I'm going to open up this application, and your logo is typically going to be shown on the installer. You can see here we have the Arrow branded logo. And I am going to click Get Started. And here we have Optical Prime, formerly known as DPAC, and we're going to hit Start. Now here are your different upload options. So there's the stream option and the manual upload option. So the stream option is recommended. It's a very small amount of data. It's just configuration and performance data. If you do the manual collection, it requires you to upload the SIO kit, and that collection interval or period stops at 24 hours. So the stream allows you to go for a 7-day collection. So it sends the data, transmits it to LiveOptics, and it's not a lot of data. So we highly recommend using the stream. So if you select the stream option, there's nothing more for your customer to do. You'll get an email confirmation, and you can see that data collection in real time. Now also, if they do the manual upload using the SIO kit, that file is encrypted, and the customer or you can upload it to LiveOptics. So here is where you add the different targets for Optical Prime. When it comes to selecting servers, LiveOptics does not scan the network and find every target or every server on the network. That's intrusive on the network, and we definitely don't want to do that. So we specifically select every server that we want to collect. So you can use Active Directory to return a list of AD objects that you will check to include only the servers you're interested in. Additionally, local systems collects data from the device you are running LiveOptics on, whereas remote server is like Windows, vCenter, Linux servers. So when it comes to adding your vCenter, VMware requires vCenter admin security permission. So all require admin access, and then Linux needs a root equivalent. Another point to note is that Windows will auto-add other servers, like if it's a Windows cluster. So I'm going to add the vCenter, so I'm going to select Add Remote Server, select the vCenter option, and then type in information. Okay. And here you can see it pulls in the different clusters and data center from your VMware environment. So if you want to focus on a specific cluster or a specific data center, you can do so. It's going to retrieve that host information and pull in all of our different hosts, as well as the storage that they're connected to. So it's not actually hitting the array, it's just pulling this data from vCenter. So you can go and add additional remote servers. Again, like local systems, you can search Active Directory. One collector can support up to 250 servers. So another point to note is that it saves the server list. So if you run this optical prime multiple times, you don't have to type in, IPs and all of your different targets each time. So you would need to re-authenticate, but it doesn't save the credentials, but it does save, the IPs and fully qualified domain names. So once you have all of the servers that you want to assess, down here you can select the duration. So 10 minutes all the way to 7 days. The default is 24 hours, which is really good for sizing. If you only want to know configuration, you can do it for 10 minutes. And the configuration is going to give you like make, model, processors, OS, etc. of the server. So I'm just going to stick with 24 hours and hit start. So here you can see collectors running. It has one connection to our vCenter target. Here is our vCenter. We have 4 servers, 39 disk nodes. You can see the time ticking down. So now we can go actually back to Optical Prime and go to the dashboard. So we're going to wait 5 minutes, come back, and take a look at that. So now we're back. You can see that LiveOptics has picked up our new project. We're about 12% complete. And yeah, we can click into this project and see some of the metrics that it's already pulled. One thing to note is that the default project name is the first server in the project, so that's why it's XEMC Den 01 versus a nice name. So I'm actually gonna walk through this project right here. Since the collection is complete, we can see a full picture of the data. The default view on the report is the environment view. This is a summary of all the data that was collected. So here you can see up at the top left we have the environment view with CPU metrics, capacity, memory, just a lot of the global, like a global picture of your environment. So you can see the server manufacturers, how many guest VMs, how many hypervisors. So you can see the top 5 servers by, and you can list it by IOPS, you can list it by network. Yes, just a high level environment picture. Also, we can just come up here and name this LiveOptics demo. And we've just renamed the project, so that's how you rename the collection / project. Now we can look at performance view, and we can see the breakdown by server. So this project view is an aggregate of everything beneath it. So you can see for this project we only ran it for 2 hours versus the 24. So we're going to be getting more of kind of a better idea of the configuration instead of the performance view. So we can go down here and look at different graphs around IOPS, throughput, even into workload concentrations. And then we can click on servers and look at our different hosts. And within that, we can look at the inventory. So this is like what do each of the hosts entail in terms of capacity, free and used, read-write ratios, whereas the inventory is more of like make, model, manufacturer. So next, if I click on hypervisor, you can see hypervisor stats, same for disk, how much utilization on the disk side of things, and then the cluster disks, and then lastly you can look at the actual virtual machines within your virtual environment. So last thing, we're looking, like I mentioned, we're looking at this project view, which is an aggregate of the entire cluster. You can also use the radio buttons next to each item here to include or exclude them in the project report that you can export to deliver to your customer. It's just a PDF, and we'll walk through that. So you have the ability to zoom in different times on your graph so that you can get a better look. I realize this isn't quite a active workload environment to show this, but you can use this area to zoom in on specific times within your capture. So now that you have all this information, you want to be able to create a report and share this information. So if you click Create Project Report, you can name the title, you can include contact info, you can, pull out or add in all the information that you want, and as well as summary information, and hit Create Report. And notice here on the right side, it'll give you an estimate of the number of slides. Additionally, you can do the same for a PDF, give an introduction, as well as like a server summary, executive summary, and you can create that report and it will generate it for you to download. Same with the PowerPoint, so I will create that and we can take a look at those. So our PDF is done, so if I click on that, and you can see here is our LiveOptics report with our logo. It was prepared for, prepared by, the date, and then an executive summary of how long did we run a collection for, what were our IOPS. So it gives us a peak number as well as 70 IOPS at 95%. Again, this is a lab environment, so not a good image of a active workload. So a high-level overview of our environment with a lot of graphs to be able to visualize the data that was collected. Then an executive storage summary, so it talks again about IOPS, capacity, and then servers, and then definitions for each of the metrics that was collected. So if I go back and we can go to our PowerPoint, you can download this. And it is a lot of that same data, but more in depth in a PowerPoint type of way. So again, high-level performance statistics, shows you your inventory, etc., etc. So anyway, that is for presenting this data in an executive summary type of manner. Now, consider if we wanted to share this data with someone else so that they could manipulate it within LiveOptics. That is totally a capability that we can do. So, if we go back to our project, and I click share, I can give a link to users of this project. I can give others a link to this project, or I can make copies of the project for a specific user. So if we do a copy, we can make the copy anonymous, and it strips all of the naming conventions out. So for instance, what the name of your hosts are. So it's just host 1, host 2, host 3. So if I select this, giving myself a copy of this that's anonymous so that we can take a look at it. So anyway, that is how you share an anonymous copy. We'll take a look at that in a sec. Again, if we go to share, you can give each other, you can give a link to the account and click share. One thing to note is that the end user owns this data, so they can share it with anyone. It isn't tied to a specific VAR account. So that's another thing to note, that if you have a new customer that has run a LiveOptics with, there's the email for our LiveOptics project. But if you have a customer that has done a LiveOptics with a different VAR in the past, that VAR doesn't own the data. The end user owns the data. So you don't have to worry about that. Additionally, so the end user owns the data, but anyone in the channel can share it with employees of their own company or employees of Dell EMC. So here you can see that I can find a technical expert for Dell for analysis, and I can click share, and Dell will engage the correct resource. Again, I can publish the data, and this shares the project with anyone, even if they don't have a LiveOptics account. So it creates an anonymous copy of the project and gives a read-only view of the project. So if I name this LiveOptics public and hit publish, there's the URL. I can open this in a new tab. Again, if you go to performance, you can see hypervisor 1, hypervisor 4. So these are all the hosts. You can see it's just removed the server names. So we have all of the capacities, the inventories, and another good thing to note here is about guest VM collection. So, and just overall in terms of the server roles when collecting with LiveOptics. So, server roles, physical is a bare metal target, obviously. Physical is a bare metal target. Virtual is virtual machine targets. And I'll come back to that one. Hypervisor are your targets hosting guest VMs. And a guest VM is a count of virtual machines reported by each hypervisor. So we have 27 guest virtual machines. But why do we have 0 virtual servers in here? So the reason is LiveOptics doesn't capture direct performance data from the guest VM unless it is added directly as a virtual target. So if so, it'll be directly monitored. It'll be a directly monitored system, and it will appear right here. So a little bit of a delineation. Guest virtual machines do not capture data by default. If you want to capture the data, the performance data from a guest VM, you have to add it as a target. So anyway, that is a high-level overview of LiveOptics and the reporting, how to share it, how to publish it. So hopefully this is useful in sales where you need this information to be able to accurately size solutions. Feel free to reach out to me or anyone on the Arrow Dell EMC team. We're here to help you We can help you run these live optics assessments. We can have conversations and help you set it up. Anything we can do to help, please reach out to us, and we will work with you. Thanks. Have a good one.